Hello YouTube. Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting and a Fan. I was in mid-sip, so if you give me one more moment. I'm telling you, making coffee with the sock is so good. Okay, so right now the time is approximately 8:11 p.m., which is so interesting because there's Trump 8 and Trump 11. In some tarot decks, Trump 8 is strength and Trump 11 is justice. And in the other tarot decks, Trump 8 is justice and Trump 11 is strength. For me personally, it makes more sense that Trump 8 be strength and Trump 11 be justice, but I digress. Okay, so the time is approximately, well now it's 8:12 p.m. and the time and the date is Tuesday, January 28th, 2020. The sun is in Aquarius and the moon is waxing in Pisces. Okay, so this is the official video for the January 2020 edition, or rather the January 2020 entry of the Many Moons 2020 Lunar Planner. And if my awesome audio-visual person could do a close-up of the cover, I would greatly appreciate it. It's a beautiful cover. I love the cover of last year's edition, and I love the cover of this year's edition. Thank you so much. Okay, so this is the, I'm going to do the January 2020 prompts. I've already selected which decks I'm going to use, but I wanted to read them first. So, Tarot or Oracle card pull for the month. Pull one card or a series of cards for this month. My card or cards of the month is, and then it has the spread suggestions. I'm actually going to work with the spread suggestions, and there are two of them. So I'm going to do number one. I'm trying not to make this sound juvenile. You know, like do number one, like really? No, I'm not going down that path. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Spread suggestion number one, I'm going to use one Oracle card deck, and spread suggestion number two, I'm going to use a different Oracle card deck. Okay, so, number one, what I am consciously welcoming in, what I must release attachment from, and the lesson. So, that's a 3-card spread. The second one is what I can control, what I must surrender, and how to make peace with my discomfort. So, for spread number one, I'm going to use, this is an Oracle card deck that I've only used twice this year, since the beginning of 2020. And it's the Goddesses and Sirens Oracle cards, created by Stacey Demarco and illustrated by Jimmy Manton. And if my awesome audio-visual person could do a close-up of the cover of the box, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. By the way, in case you're wondering, the goddess depicted is Mayet, the ancient Egyptian goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic order. Okay, so with all of my with all of the videos I do on my YouTube channel when I cast the cards, I'm always casting the cards for myself. However, it has happened on numerous occasions when this particular casting of cards resonates with you watching on YouTube. So if this resonates with you, let me know in the comments. Thank you. So I call upon Isis Fortuna, who is goddess of the sacred tarot and by extension goddess of divination. And I say to you, Isis Fortuna, that may the casting of these cards bring all those who watch this video, all those who are involved with this video, love and light, prosperity and peace, clarity and illumination, wholeness and healing, now, always, forever, and a day. And so must it be. I'm going to cut the deck into 3 piles. And I'm going to make this super easy for both my awesome audio-visual person and myself. And I've already put the 3 piles back into the same deck. And I'm basically going to pull one card from the top for each of the 3 positions. And then the bottommost card is going to be the card that I show, that is the final message card. Everything okay? You sure? Okay. And as I've done in my recent videos of late, I'm going to show all of you the video first. My awesome audiovisual person is going to do a close-up, and then I'm going to interpret the card. So, what I am consciously welcoming in, or rather, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this without ending a sentence with a preposition, and it's not coming to me, so I'm just going to keep going. So, what we are consciously welcoming into our lives and our worlds. Okay, and the card depicts Ixchel. Ooh, I love Ixchel. Ixchel is the Mayan moon goddess of divine healing. And it's funny because I remember several years ago I used to lead classes at a wellness center in Hoboken, New Jersey. And I remember there was another practitioner there who actually offered, I don't remember the name of the healing modality, but it was divinely inspired by Ixchel. But I do remember asking her if this was just for women. Because Ixchel is not only the Mayan moon goddess of divine healing, but she is a mother goddess that helps other mothers. Like those women who have intestinal problems that could interfere with a successful pregnancy, those who want to heal the trauma of multiple miscarriages, but she said that this is good for men too. So if I ever reconnect with her, or if I ever reconnect with another practitioner of a Mayan moon goddess healing modality, then I know what to do. And I have a feeling that in my case, I probably would lose some excess weight, which would make me happy because even though I don't look as bad as I did, you know, the fact of the matter is that I loved weighing less than 200 pounds, and I want to go back to the weighing less than 200 pounds. And I know that that's going to happen over time, and it's going to happen when I stop stressing over it. Anyway, so what we're consciously welcoming in is the ability to surrender and release more deeply and more powerfully. And we're also surrendering and releasing the stuff that no longer serves our needs. Whether it's the excess weight, whether it's the excess of memories that are painful and traumatic, whether it is the parts of our bodies that physically respond to those emotional memories, or those emotionally tinged memories of those traumas. And I also feel like we're going to be surrendering and releasing a lot of stuff, like literal stuff. I've already noticed there are things that I'm no longer needing, and as a result, I'm surrendering and releasing my attachments to them. I know that recently my awesome audiovisual person brought a bag of clothing and accessories that I no longer want, need, like, or use to a local thrift store. And it made me feel so good. It really did, because number one, I kept looking at those items and I'm like, I'm not going to use them anymore. And now I'm in a much clearer place mentally and emotionally that I can see, like, what, it's good that it's out of my home. Because as I have loved rereading in Catherine Ponder's books, and specifically The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity and the Prosperity Secrets of the Ages, which is its companion book, the fact of the matter is that nature abhors a vacuum. So when we surrender and release stuff from our lives, it makes it possible for good stuff to come into our lives. Okay. What I must release attachments from. So these are the things from which we must surrender and release all lingering attachments. And I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up. A real close-up. You didn't do a close-up. Thank you. Why am I not surprised? So Lilith is a Semitic goddess, or Judaic goddess. And it's funny because Lilith has been on my mind a lot lately. And I'm beginning to want to learn more about her directly from her. I don't have an issue with reading about her in a book because I have several books that have entries about her. But I'm feeling like I want to really connect with her on a deeper, more profound level. And I'm becoming more open and receptive to what it is that she has to teach me and she has to show me and she wants to instill within me. Now here's my thing about this card for this spread position. So the subtitle of the Lilith card is equality, meaning the key word on the card is equality. And back in November of 2019, the great goddess said to me that 2020 is the year of a solid, balanced foundation. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that your life can be depicted in a circle with an equal arm cross, so that you have 4 pie pieces. So here you have this area, that area, this area, and this area. So let's say mind, body, relationships, romantic and otherwise, and affairs, meaning the affairs of your life, the other things that are a part of your life. So mind, body, relationships, romantic and otherwise, and affairs. So this card is saying that there's going to be a greater degree of balance, a greater degree of a solid, balanced foundation in these 4 areas of your life. Your mind, your body, your relationships, again, romantic and otherwise, and affairs. For future reference, when I talk about relationships, I'm not specifically referring to one type of relationship. It's very rare when I cast cards or when I conduct a reading, even if it's a professional client reading, that I only talk about romantic relationships. In fact, I almost never do. And even when I would have readings with my personal psychic advisor, Roger Pratt, I never brought up the love romance question. That was because I poo-pooed romantic relationships and I didn't want one, because I'd been so disappointed previously and so frustrated that I was just like, to hell with it. And then, of course, the great goddess once shared with me that it was her divine will that I be in a divine romance. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Do me a favor. Go take a nap. And let me know when you get over it. She didn't get over it. So one day I said to her, okay, so do me a favor. Go take a nap. And if you wake up, and when you wake up, and you still want me to be in a divine romance, go take another nap. Maybe you'll get over it after that. She didn't get over it. I'm actually better off that she didn't get over it, but that's another story. And the lesson. And again, I'm going to show you the card first. I'm going to have my awesome audio-visual person do a close-up, and then I'm going to interpret the card. Athena. I'm laughing because earlier I was going through the deck and I had told my awesome audiovisual person, there's no card for Athena in this deck. I stand corrected. Now here's the funny thing. Athena has been making her presence known a lot these past few months. And it's so funny because, so I mentioned one of my favorite people on the planet, Swan of Dreamers, also known as the Michelle Swan Graham. And I have the honor and pleasure of celebrating my birthday and hers with her the last Sunday of January of every month. Her birthday is January 24th. My birthday is January 8th. I'm a January Capricorn. She's a January Aquarius. And for the last several years, we will get together the last Sunday of January. And we always begin celebrating our combined birthday celebrations at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which is one of my 2 favorite museums in Manhattan. The other one is, of course, the American Museum of Natural History. Oh, I am long overdue to go to that museum. And those of you who have been to one of my favorite sections of that museum, the Gemstone exhibit, yes, it is desperate for white sage, black sage, palo santo, sweetgrass, dragon's blood, you name it, it's desperate for it. But the next time I go to that exhibit, I know exactly what to do. It'll be primarily, if not exclusively, energetic, but it will spiritually cleanse that exhibit. Because those crystals need it, girl. Anyway, So it just so happens that I was arriving a little bit later than I would have preferred, and she told me that she was going to wait for me at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in front of the statue of Athena. And when I read this text message, I'm like, why am I not surprised? So here's the thing about Athena. Athena is the Greek goddess of strategy. She's the Greek goddess of arts and crafts, and she is considered a war goddess. But her thing about war is, I'd rather not do it, but if you want to throw down, fine. I'm going to give it back to you just as good as you give it to me. That's her take on war. Like, she does not want to engage in war. She wants to have a conversation. She wants to discuss everything first, and that's fine. But if push comes to shove... So here's the thing. Here's the lesson. The lesson is remembering that we are not required to be at war with ourselves. We are not required to be at war with anyone or anything. Nor are we required to be at war with life. And I'm going to add to that and say, we are not required to take the good with the bad. How about taking the good with the better? How about taking the good with the best? That's been one of my personal things this year. Like, why is it always we have to take the good with the bad? Why does bad always have to accompany good? By the way, bad does not always have to accompany good. We have both the right and the responsibility to cleanse our minds of that myth, that disempowering, destructive myth. And the final message card is... And once again, I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up of the bottommost card. This is the final message card, and it is, for this spread, Amaterasu. Amaterasu is, in my opinion, the most beloved of Japanese goddesses. Why? Because the Japanese flag depicts a rising sun, right in the center, big and bold as life. And it just so happens that Amaterasu is the Japanese goddess of the rising sun. And it's so funny because there are two goddess-themed tarot decks that depict her on the sun card, which is so appropriate because she's a solar goddess. Now, one of the things that we can do to make 2020 a fantastic year for us is mirror work. So, let's pretend that I'm looking at myself in a mirror. I love you. I really love you. Today is a spectacular day. Now, I haven't done mirror work in a long time, but mirror work really works. I used to poo-poo it, but it really works. Okay, so that's that deck, and now we're going to work on the other spread. My awesome audiovisual person has a face that I don't understand. What's the matter? What's the matter? You sure? Because you had a very strange face on a few moments ago. Alright. So I'm going to have a sip of my coffee. Oh, very little left. I have to rectify that before the next video. Okay. So, before I show you the cards, I'm going to show you the deck. It is the companion deck to the Goddesses and Sirens Oracle cards. It is the Gods and Titans Oracle cards. Also created by Stacey Demarco, also illustrated by Jimmy Manton. Okay. Now, as I mentioned earlier, when I shuffle the deck and cut the cards and cast the cards, I'm primarily doing it for myself, but this may resonate with those of you watching in YouTube land, and if it does, so be it. Okay. And once again, I call upon Isis Fortuna, goddess of the sacred tarot, and by extension, goddess of divination. May the casting of these cards bring love and light, prosperity and peace, wholeness and healing. And this is going to be the first card. And may it bring blessings upon blessings upon blessings to all those who watch this video. And this is the second card. Okay, we're going to do it like this time. That's fine. And that's a third card and the finalmost card. Alright, here we go. Okay, first card in the second spread. What I can control. And I'm going to hold up the card, and I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up, and then I'm going to interpret the card. Set. So Set is the ancient Egyptian god who was the one who had his brother Osar, more commonly known as Osiris, assassinated. Now here's what I find interesting about this card. The key word underneath Set's name is chaos. Now, I'm not a seasoned practitioner of chaos magic. In fact, to be honest, I used to poo-poo chaos magic. However, I have learned that chaos magic has its blessings and benefits. And one of the best times of the astrological year to use chaos magic is when Mercury is retrograding. And it just so happens that the first Mercury retrograde of 2020 will begin on February 16th. However, I have been feeling and seeing and noticing the pre-Mercury retrograde storm effects as early as the second week of December 2019. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. So I happily invite all of you to expand your magical horizons and engage in some chaos magic, especially as of especially as of February 16th. Oh, that's right! And 2 days before February 16th is Valentine's Day. Well, it is interesting to note that this year of 2020, both Venus and Mars are going to retrograde. And I've always felt that when Venus and Mars retrograde in the same calendar year, there are going to be a lot of shakeups in people's relationships. Again, not just romantic. So, there may need to be some shaking up about what you think about relationships and how you feel about relationships. And you know what? I think that's good for everybody. Because, I've noticed in my mental relationship with relationships that some things have been like stuck in a rut for me. So for me, now I need to transcend them and go past them. And I think some chaos magic is good for that. So, where are you stuck in your lives? What are the areas of your life that you can control, that you have ease and effortlessness in controlling, and you're stuck in a rut? As Isis hisses in the background. Isis, if you let us help you, your ear will feel a lot better. It'll be cleaner. It won't be as clogged. We want to help you with love. I'd rather not do the burrito, because if I do the burrito, you will not be happy for a long, 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 long time. Like I'm not even talking. Like I'm not saying a word. Isn't that right, madam? Nothing. Oh, she moved. Okay, I couldn't tell if she was breathing or not. Seriously, anyway, that's another video for another day. Okay. What I must surrender. So what is it that you must surrender and release? I'm going to hold up the card. I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up. And then I'm going to interpret the card. I'm just laughing because I've decided that wine is a major food group. And these last few months, I've been drinking more wine than I have in a long time. In fact, I distinctly remember when I went to Grove Argentum Samhain Rite, I had 4 glasses of wine. 2 red and 2 white. And I had the honor and pleasure of being accompanied by my awesome audiovisual person for my YouTube videos. And I distinctly remember he had a look on his face like, that's a 3rd glass of wine, buddy! What's going on? Who are you? Well, clearly, I've also come to realize that I'm going to pronounce it the Greek way, Dionysos enjoys being in my body. And so do other spirits. And they happen to love wine. And I'm telling you, I remember not too long ago, I decided I was going to treat myself to a bottle of Prosecco. Prosecco is this utterly delicious Italian sparkling wine, and it was the Blue by Prosecco. Okay, so what I must surrender. Here's the interesting thing. One must surrender control. You know, I've been saying for years that anybody born under the sun signs Taurus, Cancer, Scorpio, and Capricorn are masters of complicating their lives. But I feel that because they're masters of complicating their lives, they're also masters of developing the ability to create and maintain simplicity and effortlessness in all the areas of their lives. So I feel, and because my sun sign is Capricorn, and because I was raised by a Scorpio, and because the polar opposite of Capricorn is Cancer, and because the polar opposite of Scorpio is Taurus, I know that it is very easy for me to be a control freak. And even though I'm not as much of a control freak as I used to be, of course it also helps when people make it easy for me to remain not as much of a control freak. You know, if they don't do what I want them to do, or don't do what I need them to do, if they don't do what they say they're going to do, then I have to be more of a control freak than I would prefer. But that's also another video, another topic for another video for another day. Anyway, so Dionysos. So what Dionysos is inviting us to surrender and release is control. And when I say control, I mean like control over something or someone to the point that our fingernails could dig into the skin and draw blood. Like nothing can go into and out of the inside of my fist right now. And if I was holding something that had life, it would be dead at this point. So it's about surrendering and releasing the control, and about leaving oneself open to ecstasy, to free-spiritedness, to not knowing where the compass takes you. Not even having a compass. It's just like, go in that direction. How to make peace with my discomfort. So I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up. Ul is a Viking warrior god. And it's funny because that pantheon has no shortage of warrior gods. You know, from Thor to, Thor and Tyr and Ul. So, the key word underneath Ul's name is focus. And of course, one of my favorite crystals for enhancing focus is not hematite, it is fluorite. You know, it's funny, I always have a piece of fluorite on the layout cloth. But I do it because fluorite enhances psychic ability. But the fact of the matter is that I'm laser focused in my readings. And I definitely prefer to be laser focused in my readings because I can go off on a tangent big time. So Ul is inviting us to focus not on what the discomfort is or the source of the discomfort, but on what brings us peace from the discomfort. Like one of my things is I want to do things with other people, and sometimes I don't want to do something even if I would love doing it because I don't want to do it by myself. And yet I know that I cannot. This is my thing. I cannot, and I choose not to go the rest of my life only doing things with other people. If nobody's available, nobody's available. If I want to check something out for the first time, I might need to do it by myself. And you know what? That's not a bad thing. You know, I love doing things in groups, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way. And rather than postpone something ad infinitum until a group can be gotten together, It's about focusing on the enjoyment of what I'm going to be experiencing, even if I'm experiencing it by myself. So instead of focusing on the discomfort or the source of the discomfort, focus on what brings you peace from that discomfort. Or simply on what brings you peace. You know, let's say that right now you're uncomfortable with learning something technological. But what is on the opposite, on the other side of that? What's on the flip side of that? Having greater control, having access to more knowledge and wisdom, having a greater feeling of I'm in control of my life, or I can make things happen without needing to do this, or call this person, or have this person here in front of me. And then for the final message card we have, so the ancient Egyptians called him Anpu, Anubis. Anubis is the jackal-headed god. I can't call him Anubis. I need to call him by his ancient Egyptian name, Anpu. Anpu is the ancient Egyptian jackal-headed god of the underworld. In Egyptian-themed tarot decks, he's often depicted on the death card. And it's so funny because, you know, Anpu has reached out to me on more than one occasion, and I don't think that I've ever consciously resisted him. I think that I'm more open to him now than I've ever been. And this is another deity that for me personally I need to basically say, okay, what is it that you need to tell me? What is it that I need to know? How am I going to benefit from working with you? I hope and pray these castings of cards illumined your life, brought you greater clarity, gave you peace of mind, and helped you with your next move forward. And please keep in mind that I am available for readings by phone, by Skype, in person, and via email. The in-person readings will either take place at Notions and Potions in Beacon, New York, or at Catland, also known as Catland Books, in the Bushwick district of Brooklyn in New York City, or at Ripley Greer Studios in the Midtown section of Manhattan, also in New York City, or any place else. But I am limiting my in-person readings to the greater New York City area because it's just easier that way. But for those of you who will not be living or working or visiting the New York City area and you want to schedule a reading, there's phone, there's Skype. I could even create a YouTube video just for you. You know, I never thought about that, but other people do that too. You know, I could do that too. There you go. And of course, email. I love email. I really do love email. And we'll take it from there. As always, thank you for honoring who I am and what I do. May this video bring you blessings upon blessings upon blessings. And good night.